The 7 things you should be talking about today. Number 7.
Costco is bucking the trend of companies dumping diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, and the Alabama Attorney General Steve Marshall is not psyched about that. Marshall and 18 other attorneys generals have sent a letter to Costco demanding that they abandon its DEI policies, calling them unlawful and detrimental to the American ideal of individualism. Look, DEI promotes discrimination. It is really the idea that discrimination can be solved by more discrimination. And really, the people who push DEI will say that. Now, I think they're starting not to say that because of how bad it sounds. But that is what they've been saying. And that should be illegal. You should be able to discriminate against someone because of their race, regardless of what their race is. Costco has said, hey, we're going to continue doing this. So good luck, guys. Good luck.
Number 6.
President Donald Trump has signed his first piece of legislation, the Lake and Riley Act, sponsored by Alabama United States Senator Katie Britt, a Republican out of Montgomery, which requires ICE to detain undocumented immigrants guilty of theft, burglary, or violent crimes, while also granting states the ability to take legal action against federal officials who neglect immigration enforcement, which I love, by the way. The law, named after a Georgia woman murdered by an undocumented immigrant, was praised as a bipartisan effort to enhance public safety and prevent future tragedy. And then there was this on the immigration front, which I love. Additionally, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth revealed the Biden administration's previous migrant policies are being reversed, with Guantanamo Bay set to house over 30,000 criminal migrants temporarily as they await repatriation to their home countries. Get ready to see a lot of pictures out of Abu Ghraib and things like that. Get ready for it.
Number 5.
The wokeness of the U.S. military is undoubtedly under attack, and U.S. Representative Mike Rogers, a Republican of Sacs, hailed President Trump's executive actions eliminating DEI programs and restricting service for individuals with gender dysphoria. By the way, those people are non-deployable. They're not taking and putting rifles in their hands and sticking them in foxholes and being like, remember, when you're done holding the line here, make sure you dilate your man-made vagina and don't get it, you got to take care of it. And if you think I'm joking, that's a thing. Anyway, stating these changes will refocus the military on national defense, which is exactly what they should be doing. Trump's orders emphasize merit-based advancement, troop cohesion, and eliminate policies seen as politically motivated distractions, which would be nice. Rogers and other Alabama Republican lawmakers argue that these moves restore the military's true mission, lethality, which is exactly correct.
Number 4.
Well, gambling is expected to be an issue this legislative session. The Alabama Policy Institute is pushing back with their Betting Hurts Bama.com website, where they argue against gambling expansion in Alabama, citing risks to free markets, government overreach, and family well-being. Are those compelling arguments? We'll talk about that. The Alabama Policy Institute argues that legalizing gambling would lead to increased government control, addiction-related social issues, and economic favoritism through selective licensing of operators. The website provides research data and testimonials to illustrate gambling's negative impacts, with ongoing updates to inform the public and policymakers. On my TV show last week, my co-host said to me, well, you're against gambling. And I was like, am I? And she's like, you sound like it. And I'm like, do I? Because I think I made it clear that I'm a degenerate that loves gambling. I just don't love the way Alabama's doing gambling. I could see myself supporting gambling in this state. It's just got to be done right.
Number 3.
The left's domination of public schools and radical gender, sex, race curriculum is the target of multiple Donald Trump executive orders. The new president offered up these orders targeting curricula, which dominates and indoctrinates students with anti-American ideology. His orders direct the Department of Education to provide guidance on how states can use federal funds for alternatives like private and religious schools, as well as allow military and Native American families more flexibility in school selection. Missing the point, as always, the critics argue that these moves threaten public education because they're doing such a great job. They should have a monopoly and they should be given more money. if you only gave them enough money, they could focus more on race and transing your 6-year-old. But for some reason, you want that money to go to a church to educate your children. This is the argument they're making, and it's bad.
Number 2.
Immigration enforcement is real, which is why you're hearing people complain about the lack of blueberries in their smoothies. And it's happening here in the great state of Alabama, with Governor Kay Ivey offering her full support. ICE agents are reportedly making arrests across the state, and this is making people feel unsafe. Well, I'll tell you, I don't feel unsafe. I don't know about you. I'm fine. The media is scaremongering by saying they're doing this without warrants, which implies you have to get a warrant to arrest someone who's breaking the law. I don't understand that. This disinformation has made people concerned about schools, something people believe are off limits. And there are even educators telling parents to keep their kids at home or they're going to be snatched up and deported. They're being placed on leave because they're stupid. They should be fired. The superintendent of the state says the schools don't need to worry about this, but if law enforcement shows up, you got to let them in, which is true. True!
And now time for the number 1 thing you should be talking about today.
The Trump administration has sent an email to 3 million federal employees encouraging them to take a deferred resignation. This is not news. We knew this story yesterday. They could also risk layoffs, which I think is a baseless threat, personally. I think that they're just wanting a lot of people to say, okay, we'll go ahead and we'll resign because I don't want to go back to remote work. That's the whole story in a nutshell. A lot of people don't want to go back to remote work, and Trump said, okay, work remotely for the next couple of months, and then you can go away. Which I think is rather magnanimous of an employer. I really do. I think it's pretty magnanimous. Now, you only have a couple days to figure this out, so tick, 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 my friends in the federal government. But I think that, honestly, this is something that is completely allowed by law. Does anyone remember when the federal government employees were told you have to get a vaccine to be employed? And they sued, and the court said, yeah, he can do that. That's his workforce. He can do that. Can't do it to contractors, but you can do it to federal government employees. Remember when people were defending that and pretending that that was a great thing, that he had that much power over the workforce, all this other stuff? And by the way, he was right. Remember that? He was correct on that. Jay Town and I both talked about that on this program. He, a former U.S. attorney, Northern District of Alabama. Neither of us liked it, but the argument was, those are his employees. He's the head of the executive branch. He can do that. Well, this is the exact same thing. Okay? This is the exact same thing. He can tell his employees, you have to work from the office, and if you don't, that's insubordination, and your ass is fired. Instead, what he's doing is magnanimously offering them months of pay and saying that we'll let you try to figure your life out while you work from home, but then you gots to go. This offer excludes postal employees, military personnel, and immigration and national security positions. Damn it. Go back to work, Cindy. Just go back to work. Unions and advocates warn that this threatens government stability and essential services. They don't have to take the buyouts. Some fear losing pensions and job security. Don't take the buyout. There you go. I solved your issue. Others say the email has strengthened their resolve to stay. I'm going to go to work and do my job. Oh, damn, you're showing him. What? Let me get this straight. He sent you an email saying, hey, you got to go back to work or you're fired. And you said, oh, yeah? Oh, yeah? Well, then I'm going to go back to work. You crafty sons of bitches. You got him. You got that Donald Trump guy. He told you to go back to work, and then you did. That was a real show of strength you guys did right there. And lawmaker Tim Kaine is cautioning workers not to trust Trump's severance promises. Then don't take it. See how simple this is? I've solved your issue for you, you morons. However, if you think it sounds like a good idea, you should take it. You should absolutely take it, and you should leave the federal government because you're morons. You see how that works? Okay, good. All right, we got a lot to get into. We will continue getting your thoughts on all of these issues, including the plane crash that we saw in D.C. With the helicopter. A little bit of a breaking opinion here. I don't want to say breaking news. The message I'm hearing from some pilots is they all think that the helicopter pilot will eventually be seen as at fault. He was in a training situation. The airplane was doing what the airplane normally does from that area, and the helicopter apparently made some mistake. That seems to be the consensus that I've received from my sources, but again, we'll continue to follow this story. You can weigh in right here, right now. It is always very simple for you guys to do so. 205 545 9950. Get your thoughts in for 10 with him as well. We will get your questions in at the end of this program. There's a lot to get into and a lot happening. The Trump administration is really hitting the ground running. You got this breaking news story. You've got people in Alabama, the teachers. Yeah, they want to get fired. And we're going to try to help them. Stay tuned right here on the fastest hour of radio anywhere on your radio dial.
You're listening to News and Views with Dale Jackson.